Now, from the Bishopbriggs Media Centre, it's Talking Heads, here on East Dunbartonshire Radio.
From the Bishopbriggs Media Centre in Crowhill Road, you're listening to Talking Heads from East Dunbartonshire Radio. Thanks to everyone who tuned in last week to our panel talking about some of the local stories in the Bearsden, Bishopbriggs, Kirkintilloch and Mulgai Heralds. I'm Alistair McPhee, and this week I'm joined in Studio 1 by Lindsay resident Lorraine Parsons, former Bishopbriggs Academy pupil Emily Smith, Bishopbriggs social entrepreneur Morag Mackay, and Milton of Campsay's very own Ross Miller. We will also be joined by our listeners tuning in via edradio.co.uk and our catch-up service. Remember, you can take part in the discussion by leaving your comments at facebook.com/edradio and tweeting us using the hashtag TalkHeads. So this week we are discussing Council Chiefs warn of difficult times ahead, East Dunbartonshire LEDs, the way in cutting light pollution, campaigning parents launch 11th hour bid to save schools, and shopping smarter can save you money. This and much more here on Talking Heads. As usual this week, we'll be mixing music with chat, and after the ribbing I got last time with my own choice of music, we've let regular EDR listener Moira Venters choose this week's first two tracks. So we begin with Bon Jovi, In These Arms, and then that will be followed by Pink with Perfect.
Yeah. Made a wrong turn once or twice, dug my way out, blood and fire, bad decisions, that's alright. Welcome to my silly life. Mistreated, misplaced, misunderstood, knowing it's so good, it didn't slow me down. Mistaken, always second guessing, underestimated, look, I'm still around. Pretty, pretty, please, don't you ever feel like you're less than perfect. Pretty, pretty, please, if you ever feel like you're nothing, you are perfect to me. You're so mean when you talk about yourself. You were wrong. Change the voices in your head. Make them like you instead. So complicated. Look how we are making. Filled with so much hatred. Such a tired game. It's enough. I've done all I can think of. Chased down all my demons. I've seen you do the same. Oh, pretty, pretty, please, don't you ever feel like you're less than perfect. Pretty, pretty, please, if you ever feel like you're nothing, you are perfect to me. The whole world's scared, so I swallow the fear. The only thing I should be drinking is an ice cold beer. So cool in line, and we try, but we try too hard, and it's a waste of my time. Done looking for the critics, cause they're everywhere. They don't like my jeans, they don't get my hair. Exchange ourselves, and we do it all the time. Why do we do that? Why do I do that? Why do I do that? Yeah!
So that was Bon Jovi, In These Arms, followed by Pink Perfect. Well, this week the big story in East Dunbartonshire has to be the £5 million in cuts that East Dunbartonshire Council will decide on tonight during their full council. With more details on this story, here's Ross.
Thanks, Alistair, and the first story shall be Council Chiefs Warn of Difficult Times Ahead by the Milngavie Herald. East Dunbartonshire Council Chiefs have warned that the most savage cuts are still a year away, on the eve of their latest cost-slashing budget. Councillors will meet in the authority's South Bank Marina headquarters tomorrow evening to thrash out where the latest savings need to be made. More than £5.1 million needs to be shaved off spending in the latest round of cuts and savings for 2014/15. Over the last 7 years, a total of £35 million has been lopped off budgets in order to make the books balance with ever smaller resources, including a continuing freeze on council tax. None of the prospective savings for 2014/15 had been announced as the Herald went to press, with the administration and opposition SNP group set to reveal contesting budgets at the same time before debating the individual merits and voting at Thursday's meeting. But, speaking to the Herald late last week, Council Leader Ron Dagiki and Chief Executive Jerry Cornez said next year's budget, 2015/16 would be the toughest to date. In this year's budget, council officers have identified £3.5 million in organisational planning savings, changes to make the workings of the council more efficient, which have a limited effect on frontline services. It would leave the smaller figure of £1.686 million to be saved from a combination of cutting back and increasing charges on council services. Councillor Geeky warned that the decisions were getting tougher year by year. She explained, "We have now made most of the most acceptable cuts and are now looking at things that we have rejected in previous years." But Chief Executive Jerry Cornez said that the next 3 years would be even harder, with another £20 million in savings to be made and ever-diminishing options over where the axe should fall. He said, "We need to raise awareness that the majority of the public service cuts haven't come yet. It's been estimated that Scotland-wide only 40% have been delivered to date. The next 3 years will be hugely challenging because we have made most of the organisational planning cuts we can, meaning that a significant percentage of the £20 million will come from frontline services. Work on where to make the cuts is to start next month, with the council launching a consultation exercise to gauge the mood of residents." Councillor Geeky said, "We need to challenge people and make it clear that the effect of a certain service not being cut back could have implications for vulnerable people who aren't necessarily so visible. We also have to see what people are willing to do for themselves, like what we did with the town halls, and see if they'd be prepared to take over responsibility for certain services." The consultation is expected to include computer simulations of the effects of individual cutbacks. Mr. Cornez said, "I didn't think people are necessarily able to visualise what £1 million of cuts actually looks like, never mind 20 million. We have to help them with that."
So Jerry Corns, Ross, isn't sure what we can visualise cuts to services. If you had to visualise £20 million of cuts, what would you want to be cut from our local budgets, and what information would you require? And do you think locals should even be consulted? Well, as I said, I'm joined by our local panel. So guys, what do you think about this? Who wants to go off first? Morag?
I would like to go off first on this. When I'm balancing my business books and when I'm balancing my home budget, the first thing I would need to know is, what percentage of the total am I having to cut? To tell me a figure in millions of pounds means nothing. Is it £5 million out of £20 million? £200 million? After that, you then said, should we consult people? I think it's a useful exercise, but any consultation I've ever been involved in tends to end up that you're none the wiser at the end, because the third of the population wants one thing, a third wants something else, and a third don't want to know.
Lorraine, what do you think?
It's going to be a very difficult balancing act, because initially you would think, well, we're going to have to cut things that are not absolutely vital. At the end of the day, we're never going to please everyone. We're going to have to decide, is our priority a pothole in the road being fixed, or our children being able to go to swimming bath?
Emily, tell us, how would you go about making that choice if it was you?
They're always coming up with these new ideas to build new statues and buildings to make the place look better, but really we still need that money for.
So you would look at getting rid of the sort of the art side of things,
Yeah,
the public
definitely.
art side of things. We also have massive flower beds in Eastern Bartonshire, and in fact Ross might not realise that some of the best flower beds in Eastern Bartonshire were traditionally in Milton of Campsie, because a very well-known councillor who used to represent the area was very proud of his flower beds in Milton of Campsie. How would you go about making decisions?
Well, I would rather have a verge that was less cared for than a pothole in the road that's going to cost me hundreds of pounds to repair my car.
Yes, in the article, Ross read something along the lines of that they were going to make half the savings in organisational planning strategy. I think that the people in the street need to know what that means. I think councils are very good at spending money on branding, rebranding, moving, removing, jargon. And if you're going to consult your people, you need to lay all the facts on the line. You need to say, we have consulted with independent experts about the efficiency of our staffing levels and our service levels, and they are suggesting we need less executives, or they're suggesting we need less bucket men. Now, this is what that would save, this is what something else would save, but also I do believe that people need bread and lilies. I think one of the things you can do is you can be super efficient, but all you need to do is look at the pre-Berlin Wall following communist bloc countries of grey concrete and grey people. But at the same time, we do need some pretty things to make Eastern Bartonshire a community that people want to live and work in and not just get out of as fast as they can.
Well, as Morag hinted there, the organisational planning savings, they've already made £3.5 million worth of organisational savings, planning savings there. Like Morag, not entirely sure what that is. Turning to you finally, Lorraine, in this segment, if we had to make any further cuts, rather than making cuts, do you think you would actually prefer to pay more council tax?
I would be quite happy, as long as my means didn't change, to pay a little bit extra.
And Morag?
Well, I believe at the moment politically that is something the council cannot do, and I think that's maybe what we're needing to look at. Should we have an option for a local authority to be able to increase their tax by an amount without losing the government grant? I think you've got to look at both. There are savings can be made that do not need to impact greatly on the public if you've got a good, watchful local authority. But there are occasions when, no, we need to spend more money, so we have to be able to raise more money.
Well, you heard what we all had to say there. So how would you go about making cuts? Would you in fact rather that your rates bill was increased? Should you encourage everyone to pay more for their services? Let us know at facebook.com EDRadio or Twitter at ED_radio and hashtag TalkHeads. So while you're getting your comments into us at the Bishopbriggs Media Centre, Morag, as your story is up next, what are the two tracks that you've picked this week?
The first one is My Valentine to Ashigai, and it's by Debbie Boone, You Light Up My Life. And the second one is by LED, or should we say today LED Zeppelin, Whole Lotta Love.
So many nights I'd sit by my window, waiting for someone to sing me his song. So many dreams I kept deep inside me, alone in the dark.
More Business Anyone is a chance for local business people to meet up and swap information over breakfast. Come along and join the chat anytime between 8:30am and 10am. Meet local business people, make contacts, and start building your business connections over a friendly chat with coffee, tea, or a breakfast roll. No hard sell presentations, growing your business and connections the friendly way. Start your day with a positive boost for your business and the real value of MBA. Meetup.com/more-business-anyone.
You need cooling, baby. I'm not fooling. I'm gonna send you back to schooling, way down inside. Honey, you
print2audio.co.uk. Reach out to an even larger market. If you have a leaflet or newsletter you distribute in print, there are 450 of your customers in Eastern Bartonshire who can't access it as they are blind or partially sighted. Visit print2audio.co.uk to find out how you can ensure that this untapped market have access to your information.
Thanks, Alistair. And the next story is Eastern Bartonshire LEDs, the way in cutting light pollution. From the Millgaive Herald. Eastern Bartonshire Council is to become one of the first local authorities in Scotland to switch to LED streetlights, saving both money and the environment. Following successful trials, the council is to begin installing ultra-efficient LED streetlights this spring. The authority expects to generate savings both on electricity and harmful greenhouse gases, cutting back on over 1,000 tonnes of harmful CO2 over an 8-year period. It plans to initially convert around 1,200 of the area's streetlights, mostly in residential areas. Councillor Ashley Guy, Depute Leader of the Council and Convener of Neighbourhood Services, said, "This ambitious plan is great news for Eastern Bartonshire, as well as saving money on energy costs. These new LED light sources only need to be replaced every 15 or 20 years, rather than around every 3 years for some conventional lamps. There is also an environmental benefit, cutting down on CO2, and there's also a benefit for people who value dark skies. For years now, our towns have been blighted by light pollution, where they appear to glow orange in the night sky. The new LED lights give off a white light rather than orange and will direct light towards the ground. This makes an incredible difference. The lights still do their job, but more efficiently and with no orange glow. I am delighted that Eastern Bartonshire is forging ahead with this ambitious environmentally friendly scheme." The replacement programme will take place in 3 phases. Firstly, replacing around 1,200 lanterns, then over 4 years around 50% of the current lights will be upgraded. The remaining stock would be looked at in the 3rd phase. The initial equipment purchase will be funded by an interest-free loan of £251,000 from Salix Finance Limited, a company that offers finance for local authority energy efficiency schemes. Councillor Guy added, "This funding is very welcome, as not only is it interest-free, but we can repay it over 8 years. We expect that the savings we make in energy over that period will be enough to cover our repayments, making this a win-win situation."
Well, thanks for reading that story, Ross. Now, this one, I reckon, is because it's Valentine's. We need a big bouquet of roses to the council. I've been quite critical of them in the previous article, but this is a huge well done. This appealed to me on several levels. First of all, as a social entrepreneur, I thought, what good use. Private money, interest-free loan, financing something now, saving money as we go to make the repayments over the next 8 years. Secondly, as someone who knows nothing about stars but loves looking at them, the idea of not having orange polluting lighting really appealed to me. One of the things I hate about winter is when you look out on a foggy night and you get this dirty orange light, and the thought of nice clear white light really appealed. Thirdly, this one appealed to me on the grounds that, as someone who is out at night quite a lot, although not in normal in the Eastern Bartonshire area, better lighting. Very often people do feel slightly uneasy walking about at night because you've got the glow of the orange lamp and then nothing till the next orange lamp, and this white lighting should improve that no end. Is anyone else as enthusiastic as me, or what would you like to tell me?
Our street lights have all been replaced. The difference is amazing that we have replaced some of the bulbs in our house with LEDs. We went to Homebase and they actually have a poster up telling you the advantages of all the different kinds of bulbs. That halogen is not as efficient as LED, and LED appears to be the cheapest to run and the longer lasting bulb.
Well, I must admit, from my own viewpoint, yellow light is actually quite painful to me. Where possible, we've gone for a whiter light here in the office, and at home I'm trying to get a whiter light. I just don't understand the whole putting a dimmer light in your house, particularly when you're trying to use low energy bulbs. So like you, we went up to the retail park. It was actually Morgan and myself were in, and we were looking at different forms of light. In the house now, I've got white lights in things like the kitchen, the main lights in the sitting room and dining room. So very much I support the idea of having white lights in the street. It's extremely noticeable. My in-laws are in East Kilbride, travelling back over the Cathkin Braes. When you're in East Kilbride, you've got the yellow light as you're coming in over Cathkin Braes. They've changed the lighting there to white light, and it is very, very noticeable, the difference in the street lighting. And I think quite a few of the streets in this area have also been changed to white light.
Well, I think that's one where we're all agreed that it's all positive, no criticism, so well done, Eastern Bartonshire Council.
Well, praise indeed from the panel here in Talking Heads. Again, as always, get in touch with us at facebook.com/ED Radio or on Twitter at ED_radio #TalkHeads. Remember, you can also email us at info@edradio.co.uk. You're listening to Talking Heads on Eastern Bartonshire Radio. Well, we're moving on next to Emily's story, which you might be able to guess from her musical choice has got something to do with school closures. As we're about to listen to Busted, What Do You Go to School For?
Oh, yeah. Her voice is echoed in my mind. I count the days till she is mine. I can't tell my friends 'cause they will laugh. I love a member of her staff. And I fought my way to front of class to get the best view of her ass. I dropped the pencil on the floor. She bends down and shows me more. That's what I go to school for. The way that's a real boy. You can call me crazy. I know that she crazy. That's what I go to school for. The way that's a real boy. Your friends have been plenty. And life is my Mackenzie. That's what I go to school for. That's what I go to school for. So she may be 33, but that doesn't bother me. Her boyfriend's working out of town. I find a reason to go around. I climb a tree outside her home to make sure that she's alone. I see her in her underwear. I can't help but stop and stare. That's what I go to school for. The way that's a real boy. You can call me crazy. I know that she crazy. That's what I go to school for. The way that's a real boy. Your friends have been plenty. And life is Mackenzie. That's what I go to school for. That's what I go to school. Everyone that you teach all day knows you're looking at me in a different way. I guess that's why my marks are getting so high. I can see those telltale signs telling me that I was on your mind. I can see that you wanted more when you told me then what you go to school for. What you go to school for. She's back to back into the truck. Looks like she picked this up. We drive past school to say goodbye. My friends, they can't believe their eyes. That's what I go to school for. The way it's a real boy. You can call me crazy. I know that she crazy me. That's what I go to school for. The way it's a real boy. The friends I've been plenty. The life is Mackenzie's. That's what I go to school for. That's what I go to school for.
So Ross, tell us a bit more about Emily's choice of story this week.
Thanks, everyone. And the next story is Campaigning Parents Lunch 11th Hour Bid to Save School. from the Millgaive Herald. Save Our School campaigners have made a final attempt to persuade the Scottish Government to block 2 primary mergers. Groups from Lenzie, Lenzie Moss, Auchennairn and Woodhill primaries have all written to Scottish ministers calling on them to call in the decision by Eastern Bartonshire Council to merge the 4 schools into 2 new buildings on the current Lenzie Moss and Woodhill sites. The deadline for submissions was yesterday, and the government now has 3 weeks to decide whether to intervene. Woodhill mum, Debbie Gribbon, said, "We submitted our evidence to the Scottish Government and requested that they review and call in a decision to close and merge Woodhill Primary. The decision to do this was based on the fact that we feel we have sufficient evidence to prove that the Council has failed to comply in a significant way with the requirements set out in legislation and failed to take proper account of a material consideration relevant to its decision. They have still to let us see the apparent list of educational benefits that this new supersized school will provide. They have proved what an arrogant and political process this has truly been." Gordon Curry, the Council's head of education, said, "The statutory consultation process can take a long time and we understand that it can be difficult for everyone involved in the school. The Council, parents and our stakeholders all want to ensure the best possible education for our young people, and we are grateful to everyone who has given their views on how to do this. We have taken these views on board and believe we have complied fully with legislation. We look forward to hearing any comments the Scottish Government have on the proposal. The Scottish Government is expected to come to a decision on the school merges in early March." Emily, I believe you're leading this one?
Well, thanks, Ross, for that. I don't really understand this campaign Parents Launch 11th Hour Bid to Save School. This is what they're trying to do. They're trying to close down Lenzie Moss, Auchennairn and Woodhill schools to merge them into 2 main schools, which would be situated at Lenzie Moss and Woodhill sites. I don't really understand what the benefits would be from the big join. The roads would be busier and stuff, but I just don't understand what the need is to close these 4 schools and just join them together.
The site that they've picked to merge them on, as we've talked about before on Eastern Bartonshire Radio, it actually means that the Auchennairn pupils are going to yet again have to walk down extremely busy roads, either that or across during the winter what will be a muddy field to get to school that is a considerable distance away for primary school age children. It also means that the site that they've chosen, in my view, is right beside the main secondary school in the town, which means that for people living in the Woodhill area, we're going to be inundated with traffic because, let's be honest, even more parents are going to be running their children to school, and it's going to end up as a huge problem.
Yeah, especially when we already have St Helens, Bishop Briggs Academy, and then they're wanting to put another one up at Woodhill.
The super school.
I don't see what the need is in it. It's going to be far too busy up there already with the Bishop Briggs Academy and St Helens. The roads were extremely busy, and even schools were getting complaints from the houses round about when I was at school, moaning about the amounts of cars parked outside at home time and before school. And Bishop Briggs Academy actually had the drive-in.
Well, I was just going to agree with you and Emily. As far as Lenzie is concerned, it's exactly the same problem. They're going to build a super school at Lenzie Moss. Lenzie Academy, the main access is in the same avenue, which is a very narrow avenue, and parking at the moment for Lenzie Moss and the Academy is awful. And we also have a primary school at the foot of the road, so that whole Gallowhill area of Lenzie is going to be just full of cars dropping people off. It's going to endanger children because parents don't walk, they all drive. And again, distance-wise, Lenzie Primary, which will be closing, is reasonably accessible for the children who attend it, but to go to Lenzie Moss, it's a further walk or a drive.
Well, I can see Morag's champing at the bit again to get in. Morag, what's your
Strikes me as there's 2 issues here. One is whether we need to merge schools, and the second is site. I suspect, in the light of the previous item about budget cuts, there probably are huge savings to be made by not having to maintain 2 buildings. I noticed from the picture that accompanied this, one of these definitely doesn't look to me like a new build, so the maintenance costs are quite high. You can save staffing costs. Because very often, I don't know the numbers in the school rules, but if you have a school, you need a head teacher. So if you've only 200 at this school and 200 at that school, you're employing 2 head teachers. 400 is not an unusual number for a primary school with 1 head teacher. So there could be staffing costs. So I think that's one issue, is is there a need to merge schools? What's happening to school roles? What's projected for school roles? And secondly then is that if we agree there may well be a need to do that, have they got the siting right? Perhaps planning about good walking routes. I know that in other local authority areas they employ, instead of lollipop ladies or gentlemen, they employ walking ladies or gentlemen who go around a group of houses, pick up the kids and walk them safely to school.
In my day, I always walked to school. And there's a well-known retailer here in the town, in the town of Bishopbriggs, who regularly posts on Facebook. We'll give a shout out to Amjad Majid at Lomond Drive Shops, who regularly posts about the fact that it is very noticeable that how quiet the roads are when the schools aren't on. In other words, if parents weren't driving their children to school, the roads would be quieter, the roads would be safer, and potentially children would then feel safer walking to school. I just feel that in my day you walked to school and it wasn't a great issue. You walked with your mates, you walked to and from school at lunchtime, be it primary or secondary. And in my case, in primary 7, I moved a considerable distance away from my primary school, so walking actually became cycling.
I think also on that one there's very little facility for storing bikes at most schools, particularly not securely storing bikes at most schools. I think that's the kind of thing that needs addressed. I also blame placing requests for a lot of the cars that are dropping children to school. If you go to your nearest school, the chances of it being a reasonable walk, maybe not in primary 1, but at least by primary 3, is quite reasonable. If you're placing requests to go to supposedly better schools, people are travelling quite large distances and therefore are more liable to need a car. Transport won't be provided no matter what the distance involved is, whereas if you live more than 2 miles from your catchment school, there should be a bus service to take you.
Are you arguing for cancelling the whole process of being able to do placing requests?
I have severe doubts about placing requests. I think there may be circumstances where it makes sense, but I think just to say, I think this is a better school is a counterproductive way of improving schools. It's a counterproductive way of maintaining school numbers at reasonable levels, and definitely has huge impact on the number of cars dropping kids off on the way to school.
So basically what we're all sort of feeling is that the idea behind super schools is not necessarily a good one, but it might actually save money, which in times of cuts is a good thing. So it kind of goes back. If we don't want super schools, if we want local schools, maybe we actually need to pay more tax.
I think the zoning of schools is going to be a priority. They're either going to have to build car parks at schools or do something, because that is the main problem with all the schools, not just the new super schools. But if they're going to build these huge schools where people are going to be dropping their kids off, they must do something about parking.
Here in Bishopbriggs we've got these blasted brick footpaths that go across pavements to help with the so-called walking strategy, which is a director of a charity who's blind irritates me, because needless to say guide dogs were getting confused as to where the end of the pavement was, etc. But it was a huge issue. So obviously it's a massive issue, and I know that in the case of Auchinairn and Woodhill schools there are still Facebook pages online at facebook.com for, I think it's Save Auchinairn School. So again, if you want to give your support or your views to the Auchinairn parents who are involved there and the Woodhill parents. And you said, Emily, that there was another 2 schools involved, Lenzie Moss and
Lenzie itself.
Lenzie itself. Again, no doubt there's Facebook pages involved for them as well. So give your support, give your comments, give your feedback to the parents there, but also let us know, as we usually say here, at facebook.com/ED Radio or ED_radio on Twitter.
Tattoo parlour, beautician, therapeutic massage, plumbers, taxis, even a gym. When you shop at the Bishopbriggs Media Centre, you also know you are helping Scots who are blind or partially sighted, as the rentals help cue and review print speaking to the blind. What's on bishopbriggs.com.
So we're now moving into the final section of our hour here on Talking Eds, and you can guess we're moving on to a foodie story with Lorraine in just a few moments, as she seems to have a foodie theme to her tracks. Lorraine.
My first track is Food Glorious Food, and the second track is Money Money Money.
Is it worth the waiting for? If we live till 84, all we ever get is cruel. Every day we say a prayer. Will they change the bill of fare? Still we get the same old gruel. There's not a crust, not a crumb. Can we find? Can we beg? Can we borrow or cash? But there's nothing to stop us from getting a thrill when we all close our eyes and imagine food, glorious food, hot sausage and mustard, while we're in the mood, cold jelly and custard, peas, pudding and saveloys. What next is the question? Rich gentlemen have it, boys, indigestion. Food, glorious food, we're anxious to try it. 3 banquets a day, our favorite diet. Just picture a great big steak, fried, roasted or stewed. Oh, food, wonderful food, marvelous food, glorious food. Food, glorious food, not is there more handsome, not swallowed or chewed, still worth the king's ransom. What is it we dream about? What brings on a song? Wild peaches and cream about 6 feet high. Food, glorious food, eat right through the menu. Just loosen your belt, 2 inches and then you work up and you have been tight in this interlude. Then food, once again food, fabulous food, glorious food. Food, glorious food, don't care what it looks like, burnt, underdone, crude. Don't care what it looks like, just thinking of growing fat. Our senses go reeling, one moment of knowing that full of feeling. Food, glorious food, what would we give for that extra bit more? That's all that we live for. Why should we be paid to do nothing but prove? Oh, food, magical food, wonderful food, marvelous food, fabulous food, beautiful food.
I work all night, I work all day to pay the bills I have to pay. Ain't it sad? And still there never seems to be a single penny left for me. That's too bad. In my dreams, I have a plan. If I got me a wealthy man, I wouldn't have to work at all. I'd fool around and have a ball. Money, 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 must be funny in the rich man's world. Money, money,
Thanks for that, Ross. Now, today we're going to be talking about food waste. A Scottish Government campaign is saying that with small changes to our food waste, we could save £40 a month. Is this actually fact? Why are we wasting so much food? Is it lack of menu planning? Is it working parents not having the time to cook fresh food and using up leftovers? Is it the fact that we don't use our freezers to full capacity? What does everyone think?
I must admit, in our household, neither of us really cook. We're aware that a well-known pizza chain has 2 for Tuesdays on a Tuesday night, so we regularly make use of that. We even get a text to remind us that it's happening. When it comes to microwave food, I'm afraid we are regular users, and any time that we do like a batch cook of mince and potatoes or mint or stew or whatever, 9 times out of 10 we put it in the Tupperware, meaning to use it later, and we forget because we're not in the mood for it the next night.
I think I would say that in our household it's the exact opposite. I was brought up in the days where there was no such thing as food waste. If it was on your plate, you ate it. And you knew how to cook, you knew how to use leftovers, and that was before we had fridges and freezers. Particularly freezers. The mince and tatties, when we make the batch mince and tatties, the mince would go in the freezer, not the fridge, so that I don't need to want it the next day. When I lived on my own, I did find that was quite difficult to buy in quantities where you didn't waste before things had actually gone off. But I think if there's 2 of you, it's a lot easier, even with buy one, get one freeze, to make by manageable quantities. The other one to me that causes food waste is people's obsession with use by date. If it's at its use by date and it smells fresh and it looks good and there's nothing wrong with it texture-wise or smell-wise, it's probably perfectly all right. Things like salad, very often you look at it and think, oh, that looks a bit watery and limp and eek, I wouldn't then buy and use. But most things, a couple of days past the sell-by date, if you know you bought it from the shop in the fridge, you brought it straight home and you put it straight in your fridge or freezer, I'm sorry, it's not going to kill you in 24 or 48 hours.
Yeah, when it comes to using putting stuff in the freezer, I think one of the things that we don't do is label what date we put it in the freezer. So it kind of freaks us out that, well, wait a minute, when did we actually freeze that in the first place? I mean, should we, do we need to label that once it's in the freezer? Morag, are you going to suggest that we can eat it at any time, defrost it?
Well, again, I mean, I can't remember, but my previous freezer had down the side how long you could keep things, and one of the things I'm sure meat was about a year. Mm-hmm. I do think that requires a little bit of planning. Yeah, if you know you put it in there over a month ago, what's wrong with saying some point in the next week or so, we'll haul that out and eat it? And microwaves, even defrosting now, doesn't mean you need to think about it the day before. It's good if you can. But if you can't, if you use your defrost in your microwave, you don't need to be home hours in advance and have planned it all weeks in advance. But I think you do need just a wee bit planning. I think one of the other problems, though, is the number of people that do not know how to cook or do anything with leftovers. And I think that's something that maybe there are things that can be done for a generation that has grown up on ready meals and wouldn't know a pork chop if they met one.
I find a good way of saving on food waste is cooking in bulk is one thing, but if you buy vegetables, they are inclined to go off if you don't use them within a few days. Carrots go soft, potatoes go soft. I cook a lot of my vegetables into my meals so that I'm using up, like carrots go into mince and potatoes. I make soup, which I freeze, so you're using all your vegetables. Anything that's left in my house goes into soup. So I think if we just put a little bit more thought into planning our menus for the week, we could not only save money, but we would save on waste.
I must admit that, again, is something, though, you're saying about putting it in soup and all that. We grew up, Lorraine, in a generation where you automatically knew how to do these things.
We did.
I think those days are long gone, and I do think it's something that I'm sure folk actually would quite like to learn to cook better, learn to menu plan better, learn creative things you can do. One of the things, I don't buy an awful lot of fresh veg for the very reason that you've got to be so organised, but frozen veg is very cheap and very good and means you don't have that issue. I think those of us who have rather more years' experience than others, maybe it's time that Eastern Bartonshire Radio started a Waste Not, Want Not food programme.
Well, funny you should say that, because Zero Waste Scotland are regular visitors here into the Eastern Bartonshire Radio studios. Hopefully we should perhaps we should get them back in to have a chat with us about that very subject, and perhaps Lorraine and Morag could become the cooking cannons of Eastern Bartonshire Radio. You never know.
At this point, I confess I get my dinner made for me every night.
Well, I don't. I'm the cook.
So yet again on that one, I'm sure everybody's got views on that, so please get in touch with us at Eastern Bartonshire Radio. As usual, as always, facebook.com/ED Radio or Twitter ED_radio, and of course email us at info@edradio.co.uk. Remember, always when you're talking to Eastern Bartonshire Radio, you can always do a phone interview with us, so drop us an email and we'll phone you back when there's a presenter available, and we could include you in the show in a wee phone interview. So that's all from Talking Heads for this week. You've been listening to our local panel here in the Bishopbriggs Media Centre in Crowhill Road. So pop in and see us. And of course you can always pop along and meet the team, meet the presenters of the shows at the Eastern Bartonshire Radio Race Night, taking place at the Cadder Freestone Social Club in St Mungo Street in Bishopbriggs. Tickets are available from the Bishopbriggs Media Centre. Just pop into the Kuhn Review door, tickets £7.50, and you can of course come along and meet the entire team and support Kuhn Review, Print Speaking to the Blind and Eastern Bartonshire Radio at the same time. Thanks for listening everyone, and thanks to Morag, Lorraine, Ross and Emily for joining me on Talking Heads.